Hi everyone, I'm Michaela. I'm a Minnesota Green Corps member with the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, and today I'll be showing you how to start seeds indoors to grow your own transplants for the garden. So before we get started, it's important to think about why you might want to grow your own transplants. One reason you might want to start your own seeds is to save money. There can be some upfront costs, but once you have that equipment, growing your own transplants instead of buying them can be a lot cheaper. This is also a way to extend your growing season. So if you're growing your own transplants, you can make sure that they're in the ground as soon as the soil is warm and really get the most out of your vegetables and out of your flowers. And it can just be a really fun activity for you and in a classroom, getting to watch seeds as they germinate and make observations about your plants, and getting to feel connected to the garden even during the colder months can be something that's really rewarding for you and for your students. So once you've thought about why you might want to grow your own transplants, it's important to pick a space where your setup can go. You'll want to pick somewhere that you're comfortable spilling soil and water potentially, somewhere that could get messy. You'll want to pick a place that has a stable temperature, so no drafts, and somewhere that has adequate space to store all of your seed starting flats. You'll also want to think about when to start your seeds. You can do this by using your seed packet and also information on your area's last frost date to calculate the best time to start your seeds. This information is available on the Minnesota DNR website, or if you don't feel like doing the math, the U of M extension pages have just general guidelines for when you can start certain plants, and those work pretty well too. Today, I'm starting 2 different tomato varieties. I'm looking at the back of the packet, and they both say to start about 6 weeks before the last frost date. I checked the DNR website earlier today, so I know that the average last frost date in my area is usually the 1st or 2nd week of May. Right now it's early April, so this is sort of the perfect time to start my seeds. But even if it weren't, that leads us into our next question, which is who, as in who cares? Who cares if you start your seeds a couple weeks too early or too late? It can still be a totally worthwhile endeavor to grow your own transplants. So don't let perfect be the enemy of good, and make sure the garden is a place to make mistakes and learn and grow. Another big thing to think about is what you'll need to start your seeds. So all of the supplies that will help you along your journey. You'll want to start with a seed starting substrate. It's important to use something that's specially formulated for starting seeds. You don't want to use soil from the garden or potting soil. These mixes are specially designed to balance drainage and moisture retention, which will create a great environment for your seeds to germinate. The other thing that I want to touch on a little bit more is your seed starting tray. Basically, you just want something that will grow each transplant separately, and something with drainage holes on the bottom. This is also important to make sure your seeds don't get too soggy in their journey. Something that's super important for starting your own seeds is having an external or supplementary light source. You can use LEDs, fluorescents, incandescent bulbs. All of those will help your seeds grow, but you do want to keep in mind the varying strengths of those lights and also how much heat those lights emit. So if you're using an incandescent bulb, please don't let your plants dry out and start on fire or something like that. I did not tell you to do that. Also, the height of your light is super important. You want to keep your light about 2 to 3 inches above your plants as they grow. What's super useful about this light that I have is that it's on this chain, so I can really easily lower and raise my light if I need to. Seeds need 12 to 16 hours of light a day, so it's also really helpful to keep your light on a timer to make sure you're meeting that. But as long as you have some source of light, that will really help your seeds along in their journey. Another important supply is a heating mat. So this is a mat that's specially designed for heating seedlings. If you use a mat that's designed for something else, the temperature can get way too hot. And again, I don't want you starting any fires. Using a heating mat will help keep our soil warm while our seeds germinate. Keeping the seeds warm, it's not strictly necessary, but it will sort of help your seeds germinate a lot faster. Also, this assists with germination, but once your seedlings have broken the surface of the soil, you can actually turn your heat mat off. The next supply I want to talk about is a cover for your seedling tray. These are really useful to keep moisture in, which can help your seeds germinate. If you don't want to use a cover like this, you can put just a thin plastic film over your seed starting trays, or just water frequently while they're in that germination phase. After your seeds have germinated, you'll want to remove the cover so that they get some more airflow, but keep an eye on them and see if they're drying out too quickly or if they look kind of soggy, and adjust the humidity of your tray as needed. All right, we have everything we need. We've answered all of our important questions, so we're finally ready to start our seeds. I'm going to start by filling my seed tray with some of the pre-moistened seed starting mix. You want to make sure that your soil is moist enough to clump together when squeezed, but it shouldn't be leaking water. I'll just start filling these trays. Okay, so now that our trays are all full, it's time for us to add our seeds. So I'm just going to pour out some seeds, make a divot, and then add a couple seeds per cell. And I'm overplanting these cells because it's not a guarantee that each of your seeds will germinate. So by planting 3 or 4 per cell, that'll give you better odds of getting a plant. If you end up getting more than one, you can just pull the least healthy looking ones and leave your strongest plant. Okay, now we're ready to assemble our whole kit. So we have our tray, add the cover, the heating pad will go below, and then the light just slides right over everything. So I'm gonna bring this up to my desk and keep it there for the next 5 to 6 weeks, and I'll check in with you as my seeds germinate and grow. Hi everyone! So it's been about a week since I started my seeds, and as you can see, a lot of them germinated already, which is very exciting. I counted and I'm at about a 75% germination rate. So I'm going to remove my tray cover and turn off my heat mat, which we discussed earlier in the video. So here's my setup after making those changes, and this is how I'll keep my tray set up for the rest of my time with my seedlings. All right, it's been another few weeks and I'm checking in on my seedlings with you all again. For the past few weeks, I've been watering my seed tray when the soil starts to get a little dry. I've been pulling plants and any cells that grew more than one seedling, and I've been keeping their light on for 12 hours a day. I more recently noticed that some of my seedlings were looking sort of pale and yellowish, so I decided to give them a little boost of fertilizer. I'm just using a liquid houseplant fertilizer diluted to 50% strength. Fertilizing your seedlings is optional, and over-fertilizing actually tends to pose a larger risk to your seedlings than under-fertilizing. So if you do choose to fertilize your tray, just make sure you're waiting until your seedlings have a set of true leaves, and never fertilize more than twice a week. I only fertilized this one time over the 6-week period that my seedlings were growing, and that was enough to keep them healthy. So it's been about 6 weeks since I started my seeds. As you can see, they're getting pretty big for this container, so it's time for the final step before they're ready for the garden. So before I transplant these in my garden, I'll want to harden them off or acclimate them to the outdoors. So this is a process where you leave your seedlings outside in a sheltered location for a couple hours at a time, and then gradually increase the time that they spend outdoors each day using less and less sheltered locations. So today I'll just be leaving these under this table. It's nice and protected from the sun and from the wind, and then I will gradually increase the time they spend outdoors over the next 2 weeks until they're ready for my garden. So there you have it. That was my entire process of growing transplants from seeds myself. This is actually my first time ever growing my own transplants, so I hope you found this video helpful and informative and were able to learn alongside me, and I'll see you in the next one.